maybe for the audience and even myself, what happened to Lebanon?
All the money that remained in the bank that was essentially transferred to politicians and stolen from. Even after that, we had a huge energy crisis. And it was at the time in my life where I needed to really progress on a personal level. The only thing that Bitcoin could really help with are twofold. Reduced transaction costs, about the fact that they can have access to their money anytime, all of that.
The quote goes, pound for pound, helping people learn about Bitcoin might be the single most effective form of human rights activism. If you agree, we can jump right into it.
Sure.
So, Bitcoin's moral duty, creating value in developing economies. When most people hear the word crypto, they think of speculations, scam, or get-rich-quick schemes. But Bitcoin stands apart. It's not just another digital asset. It's a monetary revolution built on transparency, scarcity, and freedom. Unlike thousands of crypto projects driven by hype, Bitcoin offers something radically different, a decentralized, censorship-resistant, and incorruptible form of money. And in places where financial systems have failed, where banks freeze accounts, currencies collapse, and trust is shattered, Bitcoin becomes more than just a tool, it becomes a lifeline. Today, we explore Bitcoin's potential as a force for good in developing countries with a special focus on Lebanon. We'll examine how Bitcoin enthusiasts can help create value, offer energy solutions, and foster economic stability in places where it's desperately needed but widely misunderstood for now. So join us as we delve into the moral responsibility of Bitcoiners, examining practical approaches to adoption, education, and entrepreneurship in regions facing severe economic challenges. So first, I think I shouldn't be talking about developing economies. I think you can help us talk about Lebanon, because I think it was not a developing economies, but a developed economies where something happened. So maybe can you introduce yourself and then?
Not really, because it wasn't really like developed. It was never. It's just that it had a few sectors that were developed, and that what it was like known for, like the banking sector. That's why at some point it was called like Switzerland of the Middle East, just because of this. But otherwise, like in tourism, has always been big. But like it was never like developed, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you introduce yourself to the audience and your relationship, I would say, with Bitcoin or your Bitcoin journey?
Sure. First, thank you for this. I'm just happy that, as promised, yours is the first podcast I get on, so that's quite nice to just like start talking with a friend about Bitcoin. So
It's a
yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my name is Michel. I'm a Bitcoin consultant. I've been into Bitcoin for about 5 years now. And I first started I first heard about Bitcoin back in 2017, when the first hype started around Bitcoin globally. And
So it was back in 2020 when everyone was talking about crypto and all of that.
Yeah, it was back in 2017 towards the end when the price pumped, and I didn't really look into it at the time. I was studying economics here in Lebanon, and we didn't really learn about money. and that wasn't something that was really present in any of the courses. Like we did study monetary economics, but like it was very high level, and um, none of the courses, none of the professors, except for one that I'll be getting to, mentioned money and the importance of money in an economy. So I graduated without really focusing on these aspects of the economy. And I graduated around 2019 with the start of COVID, and also coincidentally with the start of the economic crisis, the economic and monetary crisis in Lebanon. So yes, you can imagine I was an econ grad ready to take on the word, and I didn't really understand any of the practical stuff of the economy. I wasn't really, I couldn't even make sense of Bitcoin at the time. And as I told you, there was one professor, however, that mentioned money, and I think you're familiar with him. His name is Saifuddin Amos.
Oh, okay.
And
That guy.
yeah, that guy. And he mentioned Bitcoin. He used to mention economic principles from the Austrian school, and that's what made his courses quite interesting. And if my memory serves me well, he did ask us to come to his office, like to discuss Bitcoin, but as the ignorant.
Wait. How did you heard about him? Did you go
He
to the
was
same?
he was a professor in the Lebanese American University where I went, and I took an economic development course with him. And he used to talk about Austrian economics, mention time preference, and other principles
Oh, wow.
he
At the
used to
university.
talk about. Yeah, in the course, even though that wasn't really that wasn't
Part of
like
the program.
the direction, and
Yeah.
and these concepts weren't really ones that the Keynesian economic curriculum focused on. And so I ignored Bitcoin at the time, and I wasn't really interested in learning more about it from him, which was maybe one of the biggest mistakes I've ever did in hindsight. And
No
so
one's
I
perfect,
graduated.
man.
True, no one is. And so we strive to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, I graduated with the crisis, with everything, and took on a job as an accountant, while still having like a little interest for a small interest for Bitcoin that I wanted to explore. And it was at the time in my life where I needed to really progress on a personal level. And so I decided to start learning about Bitcoin, and I discovered Andreas Antonopoulos' videos and just seriously binged on them and everything he taught. And then around 2021, that's when I decided to read the Bitcoin Standard, and this is where
The book
everything
from Saifuddin.
truly, exactly, and this is where everything truly started to make sense. I've started to understand properly the Lebanese crisis, that money in the banks is not really our money, it's an IOU, and that money, not anything can be money, and all of these principles that help you truly have groundbreaking moments and real breakthroughs in terms of how you evaluate an economy and make any decision, financial or not whatsoever.
Yeah. I have a question though. Just before you decided to read that book and go full on Bitcoin, what were your thoughts about Bitcoin? Like what was your mindset when people were discussing Bitcoin?
not many people in my entourage were really discussing Bitcoin, but I just knew that it was some kind of asset that had a ton of volatility, and that the price really fluctuated a lot. So it really didn't it didn't really like get me like create a ton of interest for me to seriously get into it until I really wanted to understand money and understand Lebanon. So this is when my interest started to seriously grow.
So you would say that the crisis, the I would say the impact of the crisis led to your Bitcoin journey in a way?
Yes, of course, and especially paired with the fact that I should have been able to at least forecast or understand what was happening as a
Oh wow.
economist, and so I just wanted to understand why the whole wealth of the families around me, of my families, of friends, and everyone in Lebanon disappeared in over a night, and that wasn't something that that could happen in any of a Lebanese's mind, because people don't really like they naturally trust the banks, because this is where they've put all their money for as long as they can remember, and this is why like Bitcoin gave me a new framework to look at all kind of control and the role of money and all of that.
Yeah, it makes me think about this slide. So maybe for the audience and even myself, I've been really researching what happened when I met you. But maybe can you tell us, without going too much into the details or anything like that, but what happened to Lebanon?
Yeah, sure. So Lebanon has defaulted on their loans back in 2020, like after the crisis, because it was heavily reliant on foreign debt, and the Lebanese pound has been pegged for over 2 decades to the US dollar at a rate of 1,500 Lebanese pound to the dollar, and people used to trade with both currencies interchangeably, and like these were the two official currencies of the country. And until 2019, there was a ton of aid that were coming in different form, and the banks, in order to maintain the peg, the central bank and the banks had to offer. They didn't have to offer, but they used to offer very high interest on foreign reserves, because the Lebanese diaspora is huge, and Lebanon used to rely a lot on, and still does, to rely a lot on remittances. So in order to help in order to finance their reserves, they used to increase the interest rate on these foreign on the foreign USD, for example, in order to lure investment into the country and have a ton of foreign reserve to be able to maintain the peg. So this money was in turn lent.
I don't really understand the concept of it. Does that mean they were on purpose stealing money that were coming? Is that I don't really get
They
when you
offered a
say
lot of interest, like up to 15% of interest
okay.
on if, for example, I work in Dubai and I have wealth in the bank, and they told me if you put your money in our banks, you'll receive a 15%
Oh, okay.
yearly return on them, which is something that is like abnormally high
Crazy.
and not maintainable. And all this money that were in the banks were lent to the central banks, which in turn lent it to the government for different for a bit too long, and this money was couldn't be retrieved anymore because the whole political class used all these funds for personal and other projects. So they essentially stole the money. And at some point in October 2019, when people wanted to retrieve their money from the banks, um, the external debt was had stopped, and all the money that remained in the bank that was essentially transferred to politicians and stolen from politicians made it so that the bank run was huge and they couldn't deliver, and people couldn't withdraw their money anymore.
Oh wow, that's okay. So at that point in Lebanon, that means like people were going to their banks and there was no money. There was nothing.
Exactly. You could go and try to withdraw, I don't know, $1,000 eh, from the bank, and the bank would just not have enough reserves to give you the USD because they were depleted from USD. And so this is when the peg broke, and a black market for the Lebanese pound started to emerge. Um, the money was the Lebanese pound started to completely devalue, and people lost essentially lost all of their savings, because if you had 100K in the bank, you couldn't retrieve any of it for the coming few years until they established the haircuts and allowed you to retrieve some of your money at a very reduced rate.
That's absolutely crazy. That means that at that point, before the crisis, what were the, I would say not the cost of living, but the level of living? I don't know exactly how to put it. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, people were living quite well, and they were really receiving a ton of remittances from abroad, even though the poverty rate was still quite high. It always has been Lebanon, and there was a serious gap between the rich and the poor for the past many years, as long as you can remember. Yet after the crisis, you would feel that everyone was reduced to being poor because everyone lost their money, everyone lost their savings, be it if you had 100K in the bank or 20K in the bank that you couldn't retrieve. The pay was also slashed by the valuation level. Like many people who work, especially for public entities, relied on LBP payments, and the average
What is
salary at
that?
some point. Sorry.
What is that?
Like public
Okay.
institutions jobs, such as if you work in a government entity, at a public university, public school, all of these salaries were paid in LBP, in the Lebanese pound, and um, and if you were like the average salary at some point got down to about $40 to $60 per month. That's how much the Lebanese pound got devalued by over 90%. And so you can imagine that you can't save. The only way that you could save was in dollars, and you couldn't retrieve from your savings, and you weren't paid in dollars anymore. So it was like, exactly as the slide says, a survival mode for the past few years, and until things have started to pick up slightly. And as you can imagine, in an economy that is completely obliterated, and in which you cannot rely on the central bank to save you, because this is the entity that exactly wrecked you, you would notice that entrepreneurship and freelance work has been on the rise for the past year.
Of course, but this is super important what you just said. Like central bank, the whole purpose of having a central bank is exactly to be the lender of last resort. At least that's what they say they are here for. And in the case of Lebanon, that's them with politicians who stole the money from the people.
They lent the money to the politicians. But Lebanon is a very specific case because of the peg that I mentioned. And the main reserves have always been in USD and bonds and equivalent. And so even the monetary expansion right after the crisis shot up just because they needed they needed to print money to kind of stimulate the economy, and because they didn't have USD in reserves anymore. So they could still print Lebanese pound, but the Lebanese pound that was devalued and kept devaluing in part due to the monetary expansion, like most part is due to the monetary expansion, and the creation of this black market, which allowed for floating exchange rates depending on based on everything that was happening in the country during these past years.
Okay, I think I don't really know how the black market works and how it happened. Is it related to politicians? Is it something that the people created? What is it exactly? How does it work?
It's like the exchange brokers. This is where you would previously go to exchange USD for euros or back to Lebanese pounds, and these people became kind of the suppliers of money in this broken economy. And so you would go there and exchange USD and buy USD with the devalued LBP and vice versa. And these were
so meaning you get your salary, and next day you go to your broker and exchange this salary into USD.
Yes, because most people started to, and most people needed to exchange to USD just because it was the harder money in this case. It didn't lose value at all compared to the Lebanese pound that kept devaluing. And since they had already lost all of their wealth due to the banks, you can imagine that the only way to store their value and the fastest way would be to buy USD and keep it under the mattress or keep it in their households.
Okay. So those brokers are companies essentially, or people. It's not related to politicians or banks.
No, not always. In part, they are, but most of them are like people like you and me who had liquidity, whose job was to have liquidity to exchange money.
Okay, and That means that, for example, if I have liquidity and I'm in Lebanon and I decide to be the broker, I have to make sure that my security, because my life depends on, my life is in danger. Basically, I have to protect myself. I saw like someone who is a broker. I saw a quick video, who the guy said, "Yeah, I'm forced to buy a gun and protect myself to do this job." Is it something
You
you
mean in
know?
Lebanon?
Yeah. To do
Yeah,
this job.
yeah, of course, because they're now they were for a long time the only suppliers of money, and it was very known that they had reserves in the back of their shop. So of course I can expect they needed a ton of security, and yeah, for sure, it makes
That's
sense.
crazy. Okay, and I think we can go to the solutions that people were trying to find. And you talked about USD, and last time you talked about also USDT. So
Yeah.
the stable coin, the cryptocurrency. Do you want to talk about that and how does people finally get to this solution per se?
Yeah, so the main solution has mainly been USDT. There are many people who invested, who used to invest in gold also, because gold is like the main asset people tend to revert to in terms of crisis. And yes, in terms of the younger crowd, like not really our parents who like stuck to USD. Yes, the surge was mainly and especially like when Bitcoin started to increase around 2021. This is where I noticed that everyone was talking about USDT, because it was a faster and cheaper way to move money without having the drawbacks of volatility. And you would notice that some shops had a little logo of USDT and Bitcoin, but that was like not much, and most of them would prefer to get paid in USDT because it allowed them to also pay abroad. And one thing that is important to mention is that Lebanon is a big importer. Like we import practically 97% of everything in our economy. And so, yeah, and so USDT has played a very nice role in helping freelancers and newly surging entrepreneurs to transact and trade with abroad, because at the time the trust in the banks was really broken, and you could you would have to, in order to move money for abroad, like if you had USD in your account and wanted to transact with abroad, the old money you had was labeled as a lolar instead of dollar, which signified Lebanese dollars, which means it's the dollars that are stuck in the bank. So, you had to have USD in order to put it in the bank and transact with it. And people wouldn't like keep their USD in the banks anymore. Most of them would just deposit USD in the bank, make the transfer, and get the transaction done. So USDT has positioned itself as a way to securely store the money in cyberspace, and at the same time transact with it with very small fees and very little fees, and a new kind of trust in a technology that was kind of new to such an to the Lebanese economy, which had like been wiped from any fintech aspect after the crisis.
Okay, but I didn't get the thing with the dollar, the Lebanese dollar.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was banks adding some
Remember, I
frictions
told
into
you
the process.
Remember, I told you that your dollars were blocked in the bank and you couldn't retrieve them.
USD,
These
yeah.
dollars were, this was the old money you always had in the bank, and that was now called the dollar. Because
Oh, wow.
it's money that you could only retrieve at a haircut in Lebanese pound. But it's on the screen, it still shows as, for example, $100,000.
So I think I heard something like that. It was like Eli, we're talking about that. He said that, for example, you had 100K in the bank, then they transform that into dollar, and then when you want to retrieve, you get like 10,000.
Exactly.
What
Yeah.
the
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the fact that it's not that they were transformed, it was that was it. You couldn't do anything with it. The bank wouldn't let you retrieve it at full value, and you would retrieve it at a specific market rate that they decided, and get it in Lebanese pounds. Until quite recently, like maybe 1-2 years ago, when they've started to the banks started to have a bit more money in reserves, and now they've allowed for a monthly $300 to $500 withdrawal on this money, on these dollars.
Crazy. Okay, so back to USDT. People,
Yeah.
when you start to use USDT, it was simple, no friction. It was just a new kind of money, but it's like just downloading an app and basically start to use it, right?
Exactly, and here mainly everyone uses Binance. Like, this is the preferred platform, and identification. It requires, as you know, identification, and allows you to swap between multiple cryptos. And the thing is, the way to on-ramp or to get on USDT or get on Bitcoin in Lebanon has always been and still is through crypto brokers. You go to the person, you give them USD, and they transfer you the equivalent in USDT to your Binance account, which costs them, which is practically free to move USDT between Binance wallets. And from there on, you decide to purchase Bitcoin, whatever other cryptos, or transfer them as you wanted. You can also transfer them to a non-custodial wallet or not.
So we talk about the same exchange brokers. This is the same people.
No, not all of them. Some of them do. Some of them, they like offer USDT services like under the table, but most of these are people who have like reserves of USDT and cash, and who are able to on-ramp in some way.
So it's some other people doing that.
Yeah.
Where you can go to them with dollars and get USDT.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you get your salary in Lebanese pound. You go to an exchange broker to get some dollars, so USD. You take these dollars and you go see another broker and buy some USDT, and now you can exchange freely around the world.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That was like one of the funnels. But you could also I've started to notice that like people under 35 were able. Some of them would get paid in USDT, and some of them would sell and get paid in USDT. Like if not their salary, because as I told you, I noticed that the freelancing landscape grew tremendously because with an average income of like $500, you couldn't really live without trying to make extra income, and I think this allowed a ton of youngsters to trade and monetize further and in a more efficient and cheaper way.
Yeah. I think one thing that people like me who like us, we live in France, Switzerland, we are really privileged. And the other day I told you, yeah, but USDT, USD, whatever, it's all shit coins for me. And this is pretty arrogant because you said that people are living with $500 a month. So there is no, since the crisis, I mean, there is no question of savings. So the volatility was or is a huge thing that they can't afford. So it made me think about that. And what do you think about being? Yeah, this is this slide. I call that education without judgment. And yeah, what is your approach when you try to talk about Bitcoin and the difference with other shitcoins or USDT, for example?
Yeah, so I've always been like Bitcoin only. However, in this specific context of Lebanon, what I've noticed is you are catering to a segment of people who lost their whole savings, a segment of people whose average income is extremely low, and these past 5 years were one of the most terrible ones, and any Lebanese would tell you so. Like starting with COVID, also with the economic and currency crisis that destroyed the wealth, and the banking crisis that allowed you to not have any saving anymore. There was the 2020 Beirut blast that contributed to a country's increased depression and really placed a dent in the progress that at the time could be seen. And so even after that, we had a huge energy crisis, and the public sector couldn't provide electricity anymore more than 2 or 3 hours per day. So you could imagine that for a few years, there are like 80% of the houses who were lit for like 2-3 hours daily. And most of them were had to rely on expensive private generators. And even then, we wouldn't have electricity for during at night, during summer, when temperature was extremely high. So these were very terrible 5 years. And if you come and tell someone that Bitcoin is freedom technology, Bitcoin is something that banks everyone, that you can send for that you can transfer for pennies, and it is and it's like a moral responsibility for you to hold Bitcoin. People don't really care these 5 years were about survival, and so the tech couldn't be important to them. And this is why I think everyone reverted to USDT, because it found its kind of product market fit in this context extremely well. It allowed everyone to get banked, and I wouldn't say it was money in here, because it wasn't like as adopted as one would as the USD, but I think that approaching people with Bitcoin's like the Bitcoin echo chamber ideals won't really work. The only thing that Bitcoin could really helped with are twofold. First is, and I'm one of them, I started accumulating Bitcoin around 2020, as I told you, around end 2020. So I was able to increase the value of my savings. I've been saving almost solely in Bitcoin, and anyone who could have done so since 2019, which of course it's super easy to think about that in hindsight, but anyone who would have put their money in Bitcoin in 2019 pre-crisis, where when Bitcoin was at about, I don't know, in October 2019, it was at about 8K per Bitcoin, they would now have almost 10x their wealth, instead of keeping it in Lebanese pounds or in USD.
Okay, so back when you started to invest, it was one Bitcoin was worth $8,000.
Oh, that was in 2019.
Today...
Like when the crisis hit, when that was, I give the example of 8K in October, I think 2019. That was when you first couldn't retrieve your money from the bank anymore.
Oh, wow.
So, but this is like the price point I mention a lot.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I've started to seriously get into Bitcoin by end of 2020, beginning 2021.
Yeah, and so now the price is 100,000 almost.
Yeah.
And let's say in 5 to 7 years, it will be 1 million or something like that.
Hopefully.
No, but it's just to, for people who are going to listen, I want them to understand that this is not too late, and we're not talking about something that was in the past. Like, that's why we are doing this podcast.
This is actually one of the things I've been noticing, that everyone who is now interested enough to get into Bitcoin and sees that the price hovers around 100K, and they're like, how much higher can it go? I only think it can go lower, and I think I'll buy at this point when it goes over.
So the bias.
Exactly, and this is where I like to focus on. This is where I think the study Bitcoin mantra kind of makes sense, because as we were talking, like it's super hard for people to like get their salaries in Bitcoin in Lebanon, or if you try to help them make sense of Bitcoin when like if they don't have much savings or much room for playing with even small amounts of Bitcoin. So this is where just studying Bitcoin to understand its total addressable market, the fact that it can still go much higher. I think this is where it makes sense to educate about Bitcoin. However, to also answer your previous question, like how to educate people without judgment. I think that we should, more than educate, help people get on Bitcoin directly, for example, and by testing Bitcoin, like doing it responsibly by starting with very small amounts, by trying just to help people test, see how it works, play with small amounts, show them how easy it is to be used, even using custodial solutions. All of this really helps reduce the fears around adopting a new technology, because it's a new technology like any other, and it's very hard to make people who are very like to help people who are already very used to a system and familiar with some know-how to adopt a new technology which has practical risks, such as the volatility for people who really can't afford that. So I think just playing with it and then learning bit by bit about it is the way to go, even with starting with a few sats or whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the second way to show people how to use it, I think it was going to be your second point, because you said that for you Bitcoin has two main purpose, at least in your journey. So the first was savings, and I think the second you're going to say
then I would say there is a third way, which is what I was mentioning as the second one, which is like mining, because as I told you, the electricity market has been really terrible since the crisis, and people have been relying on private generators for the past decades, and that increased a lot these past few years, because people were had no other choice than to subscribe to a private generator owner's services and get specific power, get power monthly. However, the thing is, the solar panel growth has been tremendous also, starting this crisis, and people have been relying on both of these like power sources to light their houses and everything. However, when solar, as solar has very once installed, has practically zero costs, and it has been really adopted across Lebanon, mining has been a way for people to monetize this wasted energy. It has been a way to add at least $100 of income monthly, because many people even started very, very small with like a single miner, that for sure required investment, but was able to generate an extra 100-200K income monthly, which is huge for a segment that is being paid almost $500 monthly. So it has been a big game changer, and people have played with it. Of course, they lost a lot, but I think this was like one of the main ways people were benefiting from Bitcoin.
Okay, I think for the audience, I will just read that slide, define what Bitcoin is, so that people are not going to be lost in that podcast. And then I will ask you some questions. So Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining uses powerful machines to secure the network and earn fraction of Bitcoins as rewards. And when mining companies operate on surplus or wasted energy, they can transform that lost resource into valuable money, pay local workers directly in Bitcoin, a stronger currency. We use the heat for agricultural or just the heat, and create powerful incentives for others to invest in and build local electricity infrastructure, a critical need, as around 1 billion people around the world still live without access to electricity. Just for some context, can you say what was the situation that led to an energy crisis? Like, because we are, I mean, I'm here in France, Switzerland. We have electricity all day long. We don't ask ourselves these questions. So, what happened? First and foremost.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I can answer this question, but I'll try. Yeah, so as I told you, imports are a huge part of the Lebanese economy. And I think I previously told you it was like a 97% import, which isn't the correct number. 97% of energy is imported to Lebanon. So this is where the stat makes sense. And the thing is, I think that with the reduction of foreign currency in Lebanon, it was pretty hard to import more electricity. Also, regarding from where the electricity was, the energy was brought from, I think there was a ton of deals that were aborted.
Like people were buying these and selling electricity themselves.
Yeah, like either there are buildings who have their private generators, so they needed to get the diesel and put their hands on the energy to be able to power their private generators, which was either not present, or they had to pay a ton more in order to get their hands on some fuel. The other way is there has always been private generators which power whole streets or multiple streets in different regions, and the private generator owners started to like they used to sell electricity as a service, if you want, and you would subscribe and get a specific amperage, and this is mainly the way that the people would get their money, their hands on electricity.
Right. And then, so we are talking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining as a solution, and perhaps when we talk about product market fit before, here Bitcoin mining has somehow appeared like a solution for some actors, or at least that's what you want to try to explain to people.
Yeah, you'd have to. Yeah, the thing is, um, at this point where most people relied on private generators and private generator subscriptions to power their houses, you could say that the electricity market was like essentially decentralized in Lebanon, and so as they are profit-seeking entities, they this is why they were doing this, correct? And
Yeah,
so
of course.
um, and so mining just made sense because they not everyone was subscribing to like everyone was subscribing to their services, but they still had capacity to and so wasted energy and that
Excess,
excess
excess
energy.
capacity.
Exactly, and that was what has been used to power mining, which allowed them to get to monetize this energy and accumulate some bitcoins, either selling them for USDT or dollars, or just keeping them and holding on to them.
Okay, and I, I suppose that with the level of education that people have, not many miners or many of these companies understood or understand the value proposition of Bitcoin. So most likely they sold or they selling the Bitcoins for USD or USDT.
I'm not sure what you mean, but
Do you think do you think do you think a lot of them are keeping the Bitcoins or they are selling?
um, if I remember correctly, plenty used to sell it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure on the exact numbers, but like I know of, some who used to like directly sell it, and others who wanted to who found it a way to experiment and just like hold Bitcoin. So yeah, but it was kind of split if I want to give it a shot.
Okay. And do you think there is not necessarily a demand, but a business opportunity in educating those companies about Bitcoin mining if there is a lot of excess
Yeah, and
electricity
the
in it?
thing is, as I told you, the country is very much powered with solar energy. And once installed, like your cost is practically zero if you want to mine. So, and many people here have more than a house. They go to the mountains during summer, and so their solar panels are still running during summer, and the energy isn't really stored, and it's being completely wasted. So there is a lot of opportunity for them to make an extra bucks, make extra bucks during summer and during like downtime periods. So and the thing is, as with purchasing Bitcoin, you don't have to purchase a single Bitcoin. You don't have to start with a whole mining farm. You could start with just a single miner, experiment, and depending on the power that your solar panels are producing, you can power a single miner and just experiment with it. So and the solar industry here is really is continuing to expand. So this is an opportunity that pretty much most houses have nowadays.
I think this is a huge topic. I don't have yet, uh, I would say, enough technical knowledge about mining, but there is a saying that, I mean, I think I know it in French. So you understand French, so you will get it. It's l'économie, c'est de l'énergie transformée. So in English, it would mean economy is transformed energy, and so basically a civilization I mean, a population or a country who have not enough electricity or not enough energy cannot grow, basically. So there is a strong link between the amount of energy consumed and the level of growth of the economy. So it is perhaps even
exactly, and under different forms. So either be it in terms of energy, like that you would use to power and get electricity and really power technology, power machineries, power everything, as well as human capital that really like requires energy to develop skills, to expend time, to innovate. All of this requires energy in different under different forms. So
yeah, for sure. And there was another point I wanted to discuss. Is that true that the Lebanon community have a strong community abroad, like a strong diaspora?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are more Lebanese abroad than there are in Lebanon. Quite more.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there.
And like this is why
First, that means that
yeah, no, it's just that this is why in 2024 like the country's GDP was about $18 billion, and which was about around $50 billion pre-crisis. And from these $18 billion in 2024, a third of them, about $6 billion, comes solely from remittances. So from money from the diasporas abroad. So they play a huge role in stabilizing the country and helping their households and all of that.
Yeah, and I often discuss about Bitcoin Lightning, and so you mentioned we can mention also USDT for remittances. That is way better, cheaper, faster, and if used properly, more secure. Or not even used properly, it is more secure than banks. Do you know? So do you know what tools that the diaspora use for remittances? Is that what we discussed, or is it like Western Union or other services like that?
You mean to
send money,
crypto, or to remit like anything else, like just USD?
Anything.
Yeah, I think the reliance has always been around Western Union and these kinds of companies.
Who charged a lot.
Yeah, they do charge quite more than any Bitcoin Lightning or USDT payment. And they take a few days to settle, and you need to and like you need to provide naturally some sort of identification. So it's not it's not like ideal for high velocity payments and like just really a faster growing economy.
Yeah. That's right. find this. So yeah, for people who might not know it, but Western Union, they used to. I mean, the transaction fees are just enormous. That's disgusting to have this kind of business model as a company, to just take fees on people trying to send money to their families who need it. So yeah, the Bitcoin protocol and the Bitcoin Lightning can offer people the same service but faster and at way cheaper cost. So yeah, that's why also, I mean, education is so important. Like, people need
Yeah,
this
and the
knowledge.
thing is, I like the fact that Bitcoin's fees are much cheaper, but if you want to really be like practical, um, as people are not really using Bitcoin for payments in Lebanon, and like for paying for
Yeah.
everyday goods or even USDT, so I think there is, as I told you, the fee for the broker that allows you to convert your money back to fiat. And it amounts to, on average, 1.5% of the amount that you wanna convert, which raises a bit the percentage, but it still remains much cheaper than Western Union and equivalents, while also being a 24/7 kind of service. Like not as much because they don't like you can receive Bitcoin 24/7, but the broker doesn't always isn't like he's a human. He's not operating
Used
at
to
3
sleep.
in the morning at your needs. Yeah,
For sure. So
yeah.
we're not there yet, but yeah, people need to use it more. People need to just basically hear about it a little bit more. And I
Yeah,
think that's back to, yeah.
and the thing is, I think that many people in Lebanon at least hold USDT and crypto, even and Bitcoin, even if they're not like openly talking about it. And however, this is why my mission has been to focus on businesses, because I think there are plenty of people focusing on education, plenty of people focusing on building Bitcoin products, building payment gateways. There are tons of content creators doing an amazing job at educating Bitcoin, such as you. Um, and and the thing is, I decided to focus on the business side of things, which is to help businesses accept Bitcoin as payment. And in the context of Lebanon, it would be USDT too, to facilitate conversions also to USDT, etc. But I think that if the country starts to have multiple Bitcoin circular economies, markets and supermarkets, restaurants, coffee shops, whatever, accepting Bitcoin as payment. This will really help adoption. This will really allow for Bitcoin and USDT to be used as they were meant to be, mainly as a medium of exchange and something that participates in the economy. So this is this is what exactly I want to focus on.
Okay, and that's why. Okay, I think the perfect how do you say, the perfect angle that you took, because as you said, people are going to listen and and understand and learn way more when they have incentives, and the stronger the incentive, the stronger they're going to learn. So if you target entrepreneurs, I think it will be great, and it's going to work. Um, how did you end up taking that angle, and was that clear from the beginning, or what was the journey?
Yeah, it wasn't really clear from the beginning, but as any proper Bitcoiner, I started to talk about Bitcoin. I always infiltrate Bitcoin in any conversation, especially in the context of Lebanon, in the context of not having your wealth properly. So Bitcoin started to come in most of my conversations, especially with people building stuff. And I started to talk about Bitcoin's benefits, such as the reduced transaction costs, about the fact that they can have access to their money anytime, all of that. And I noticed that people were interested in it, and entrepreneurs were interested in it, and plenty of people who are like under the radar have been using it for trade, have been using it to transact, and exactly for their benefits, for the benefit it offers, without really being Bitcoin maximalists or whatever. And I was in a fiat job previously, and always wanted to.
We missed it. So that you've been saying that they used it for the benefit more than for the moral or the ethos of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does that except for Bitcoiners who have really studied it.
The privileged
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the real way it was conceived for. It was conceived to be used by anyone and to benefit anyone, and so even someone who doesn't understand the tech can still use it and will benefit even more so than someone who understands properly how I don't know, UTX or works or whatever. And so I noticed that people were interested in it, but didn't really have a serious case to start integrating it into their businesses and business models. So I started to talk to as many entrepreneurs that I came across, and I wanted to kind of educate entrepreneurs and show them how it was done. But as I told you that Bitcoin adoption wasn't really picking up in Lebanon. So I decided to take a step back from all of this and focus a bit more on the other side of the mission of what Bitcoin and is now. And I decided to help Bitcoin companies grow through marketing, and it took me for the first year to really really focus on this aspect of the business before starting to have proper tools, proper payment gateways to help business owners use and onboard them to Bitcoin. So,
okay, so
yeah.
It was not so long ago that you created.
Yeah, it's been a few months since
you have 2,000
the end of 2024. Yeah, and yeah, I think so. I was at about 800 a year before, and so I think LinkedIn is an amazing way to meet Bitcoiners and to orange pill and non-Bitcoiners. So I think it's a good platform for
Yeah, and
that.
entrepreneurs. That's the right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so yeah, I think that Bitcoin has been oh shit, I lost my word. J'ai complètement oublié ce que je voulais dire.
Oh, some French. Let's go. Some French. So my brain can breathe.
Yeah. And at the same time,
Whoa.
I wanted to help Bitcoin companies grow because I think like the Bitcoin ecosystem needs more businesses accepting Bitcoin, and the tools that could be that would be used with these would be used by these businesses are the products of Bitcoin companies who really need to like get more mainstream and service more companies. So I wanted to, in order to make that happen, to help Bitcoin companies grow through marketing and reach more people and be able to get out of this echo chamber of Bitcoin maxis on Twitter and just be able to share and be able to service the whole world, as well as helping any business accept Bitcoin as payment, integrate Bitcoin, and really use it to grow, be it with thanks to cheaper costs, thanks to stronger treasury, or just through very small scale mining or whatever. So after a year of doing so as a freelance, I decided to like seriously focus more on this mission, and Bitcoin End was born thanks to that. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, man. Yeah, we didn't talk about stronger treasury, but of course for us it makes sense now that we are building our own companies. That of course having a portion of the treasury in Bitcoin make a lot of sense for some of the people in the audience that don't know. Bitcoin is the best performing assets since
Of the
more
past
than 10 years.
decade. Yeah.
It will continue.
Yeah, the thing is, when you take it at the extreme and you see that it would have been better to hold USD in your treasury instead of Lebanese pound, and Bitcoin a bit more, and holding Bitcoin would be a bit better than holding USD.
We lost you. We lost you, but you said it was better to choose having USD instead of Lebanese pound.
Yeah, that the fact that
that's where we lost you.
Okay, and so the idea is just holding a harder asset, harder money in your balance sheet it shouldn't be considered a hack. It should be considered the norm. And instead of having a treasury or a cash or a ton of cash sitting on your balance sheet, you could have an asset that has been going up a lot, that can be liquidated or converted at any point in time, and that really can help small businesses if done strategically. Like you could bring up, of course, volatility is one of the biggest concerns, especially of small businesses who cannot really afford to have tight margins. But starting with accepting Bitcoin as payment and having a little bit of Bitcoin that you earned sit on your balance sheet could really be helpful in terms of could really help like a small company grow, and as well as individuals, especially in regions like Lebanon and other.
Yeah, we lost you when you said as well as individuals.
Yeah, just that individuals in the context of Lebanon that that could really benefit from a stronger currency, that they can also get off if they really need to, like by converting it effortlessly or just selling it effortlessly, as it has quite a serious liquidity that allows you to manipulate it as you want.
For sure. And I think for education purposes, the best way and the only way to really own your Bitcoin is with an hardware wallet. So you can see at the screen how does it look. And I think we can go to the conclusion, if that's okay for you. So I took this quote from Alex Glanstein, whose mission is to really explain the purpose and the value proposition of Bitcoin, especially in the case of countries or people where they need the most. So the quote goes, "Pound for pound, helping people learn about Bitcoin might be the single most effective form of human rights activism." And I think we discussed that pretty well today, and I have some conclusion here. So Bitcoin's moral duty, creating value and hope. Bitcoin is not just a technological breakthrough. In countries like Lebanon, once known for their wealth and abundance, you said it was not the case, so I will need to write that back. Decades of deceived state practices and centralized currency control by banks and governments have led to collapse, turning prosperity into poverty, driving talent abroad, and destroying trust in the financial system. In this context, Bitcoin becomes a lifeline. With its decentralized structure, censorship, resistance, and global reach, it offers ordinary citizens access to sound money, free from manipulation and corruption. But for this tool to truly fulfill its promise, it takes more than code. It takes people, educators, entrepreneurs, and passionate individuals willing to share knowledge, build infrastructure, and create real economic opportunities from a fair monetary foundation. As Bitcoiners, we carry a moral responsibility to make this tool accessible, to spread understanding, and to actively support long-term solutions where they're needed the most. Driving Bitcoin adoption in crisis region means planting the seeds of financial sovereignty and restoring hope where it's been lost. What do you think about this conclusion? I think I made some mistakes.
I think that Bitcoin's foundational promise is that it places control back into the hands of the individual, and that it allows millions of people to regain some measure of autonomy over their finances, over their wealth, and over their trade and transaction.
But yeah, I think the point is that Bitcoin can be the solution, can be part of the solution. And one thing that is perhaps the most important one, is the fact that Bitcoin brings hope, because this is an opportunity to be back on track, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty is, like, as it was designed to help anyone, be it a poor person, an unbanked person, a an old taxi driver that needs to receive remittances from abroad, which Bitcoin really can play a major role here to allow anyone to own their wealth again after years of issues, and after the loss of trust in a system that always has been thought of being one of the best. As I told you, Lebanon was known as the Switzerland of the Middle East, in part due to a very well-functioning kind of banking sector. And so I'm sure Bitcoin will really help the small player here. And as property right is like a basic human right, so I think Bitcoin gives back this whole aspect to a population that had really lost hope.
And I think if we consider that we are at the very beginning of that revolution, we have, I would say, a moral duty, a moral responsibility. And so I'm really honored to be one of your first podcast. So thank you. And can you share, I think I shared your name on LinkedIn, but where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you. That was nice. And I enjoy our private conversations as well as this public one. And yeah, I'm generally most present on LinkedIn, Michel Azar. And I'm not as present on Twitter because, as I told you, I'd like to focus on educating people on LinkedIn and people who aren't familiar with Bitcoin more than the ones who already are. So yeah, this is where I can generally be found.
Thank you very much. See you, my friend.
Thank you so much for this, and talk soon.
Talk soon.
Thanks, Abel.